Good morning, everyone, and anyone watching today. We're in John chapter 1, and yesterday, I can't talk this morning. Yesterday, I went a little long, and I apologize for that. I went on a tangent, but it's a good tangent. It's about Jesus. So yesterday we talked about what our purpose is and what John the Baptist says his purpose was, and that we were created and we were made on purpose for a purpose. And so that was yesterday. But to respect your 5 minutes, I'm going to jump right into John chapter 1. We're in verse 19 today. We're going to get close. We're going to almost finish kind of today. I don't know. We'll see. But in 5 minutes, it's hard to do everything. So John chapter 1, verse 19 is where we're starting. So this is more about John the Baptist. 19 says, "Now this was John's testimony when the Jews of Jerusalem sent priests and Levites to ask him who he was. He did not fail to confess, but confessed freely, 'I am not the Christ.' They asked him, 'Then who are you? Are you Elijah?' He said, 'I am not.' 'Are you the prophet?' He answered, 'No.' Finally they said, 'Who are you? Give us an answer to take back to those who sent us. What do you say about yourself?' John replied in the words of Isaiah the prophet, 'I am the voice of one calling in the desert, make straight the way for the Lord.' Now some Pharisees who had been sent questioned him, 'Why then do you baptize if you are not the Christ, nor Elijah, nor the prophet?' John said, 'I baptize with water.' John replied, 'But among you stands one you do not know. He is the one who comes after me, the thongs of whose sandals I am not worthy to untie.' This all happened at Bethany on the other side of the Jordan where John was baptizing." So this is John the Baptist, and yesterday we talked about what he said his purpose was. And now it kind of comes to his identity. Hi, Tyler. Good to see you this morning. Now it comes down to John's identity. So they ask him what his purpose is, he clarifies it, and they ask him who he is, and he clarifies it. So this brings us to some important questions for us this morning. We already talked about who is Jesus to us, but the question today is, who are we in relation to Jesus? Who are we in relation to Jesus? And if you put yourself in the shoes and the context of what's happening in this section of Scripture, they are trying to figure out who John is, because history says that there's a Messiah coming, and they want to know if he's a prophet, if he's the Messiah, or if he's just some wacko nut job in the woods who eats honey and locusts, which a lot of people thought too. But the relation is interesting, because we see who Jesus is. We have to get the clear, correct picture of who Jesus is before we can see who we are. And that's what John nails here. He says, "I am not the most important thing." That's super hard for us to get. Trust me, I know what it is, all right? I understand how that can be difficult to tackle. A lot of times I think I'm the most important thing about my life. My plan is the most important plan. My purpose for my life is the most important purpose. My identity is the most important, who I think I am. And those things are true. But in context, when we see clearly and correctly who Jesus is, that gives us the best picture of who we are. When we see how amazing Jesus is, when we see how true Jesus is, when we see how positive Jesus can be, when we see how life-changing Jesus is, then that puts ourselves and our identity in perspective. And so as a Christian, just have to be honest with you, we have to humble ourselves and be able to come to the conclusion that we are not the most important thing. And that's really difficult. It's really, really difficult for me, someone who tries to read their word a lot, somebody who tries to be as close to Jesus as they can. That's still hard for me on a daily basis. All right, I'll just be completely honest and transparent with you. We saved enough money to move to this place and to start this new season of life, and it's been real difficult because we made it, but we made it by the skin of our teeth. And that's not bad, that's not negative. This is me just being honest with you, but it's been difficult the last couple weeks because we were trying to have enough to just eat groceries, to eat food, and to survive until Maddie gets her first paycheck. And that was an interesting, fun experience, and it brought us closer together as a couple, and it made us depend on God, and that was great. And then she finally got her first paycheck, and the very first thing was, what do I need? What do we need? What are some things that I want to get just for myself? Some of them were disc golf discs, or something to fix around the house, or a new Xbox controller or something. And that was the most important thing to me in that moment. As soon as we got that paycheck, was, what can I do for myself? And a lot of times that's how we see every day. What do I need to get done? What do I do for myself? What can I do to make my plan happen? And that's great. That's not a bad thing. Those aren't bad things. I pursue my own interests as well. But what's most important? John says, I am not worthy to even untie Jesus' shoes. I am not worthy to have me be the most important thing about my life. I'm screwed up. I'm sinful. I make mistakes. When I do the things that I want to do, when I do my things my way, I usually screw them up. And we have to come to a place as a Christian. If you're not a believer listening to this, then you think this is backwards, and that's fine. But as a Christian, we have to come to a place to say, Jesus is the most important thing. My identity is found in Him. My plan is found in Him. My purpose is found in who He is, not who I am. That's one of the most difficult things to ever do. But if we can do that, if we can finally get to that place, it pays off more than you could ever imagine, I promise. And I'm past 5 minutes already, but I could give you example after example in my life where I finally gave up and said, Jesus, your will is more important, your way is more important, you are more important than getting what I want. And it pays off. I promise it does. And John the Baptist says so too. He said, they ask him who he is, and he says, who I am doesn't matter as much as who Jesus is. So that's the question for you today. We talked about who Jesus was. Who are you? Who are you in relation to Jesus? Are you the most important thing? If so, it can bite you in the back. But if we make Jesus the most important thing, I promise you, and I can give you examples, comment, text. There's been a few people messaging me. We can have a discussion following this. I promise you, I can give you example after example in my life where I finally made Jesus the most important thing, and it paid off better than I could ever imagine. That's the question to tackle today. Who are you in relation to Jesus? Thanks for watching.